I recently came across an interview answer which pitched no less than 4 Amazon leadership principles: ownership, customer obsession, bias for action, besides the intended leadership principle of deliver results. And in this, I wanted to explain to you why this is not a great idea to do in a job interview. And I believe there are 3 scenarios that you want to consider here if you use this approach. First of all, for me, someone doing this all day long and being super familiar with these Amazon leadership principles, this sounds a bit dumb if someone tries to keyword their answer with 4 of those leadership principles. I mean, you come across to me as someone who's likely more jack of all trades but master of none type of scenario, right? So the second scenario I want to talk about here would be that if you mention all these 4 leadership principles to your interviewer, you're simply gonna end up overwhelming them with these Amazon leadership principles. And probably more interesting for you, you will also be leaving room for interpretation. Okay, because in my experience, it's quite rare for someone to be able to pitch 2 leadership principles very well in the same answer. So we're having 4. It's basically impossible, right? And furthermore, you'll notice that I said I mentioned quite different leadership principles, and these Amazon leadership principles, some of them have some tension between them, such as the dive deep and bias for action. So basically, it will be mission impossible if you want to pitch them great, both of these principles for the interview question, right? Now, if the interviewer will be well-intentioned, they might ask you a few follow-up and challenge questions to see, hey, which of these principles, or to guide you, if you want, towards the right principle that they are interested in. However, not everyone has this level of proactiveness during a job interview, and it's not a great answer, so to speak, right? And the third thing I want to talk about here about such answers is the context. So we live in an employer-driven market. And employer-driven market, candidates usually prepare their interviews because they realize they have no other chance for these things. So what happens here? Most candidates will half prep their job interviews. And when you half prep a job interview, basically your answer will start being so boring, average. And I think this is the same trap with these types of answers, trying to pitch as many leadership principles as possible within them, to become so. There's no way for you to show as an exceptional candidate by pitching 4 Amazon leadership principles within the same answers, right? Now, as a closing note, there is an exception here, of a time when you would want to maybe think of as many leadership principles as possible. That is when brainstorming for stories. So when you build your story bank, it's only normal that your stories, your best stories, even will fit into multiple leadership principles. And then, given the question you're going to receive during your Amazon interview, you will fit your stories for that specific leadership principle. But I believe that the distinction is quite clear. There's a huge difference between brainstorming for stories and trying to think of, hey, what's the key behaviors in those leadership principles, whether I can adapt my stories, and pitching an interview answer with a goal to pass a job interview, with a goal to impress an interviewer and to bias them towards you, and give them a favorable outcome for this job interview. And also, as a closing remark here, how I found this was actually through an AI report generated on my website, and basically that AI report scored this answer really, really well on all those 4 leadership principles, which is to say, how it's just another way you could easily get distracted by using AI for the purpose of these job interviews. So hopefully you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.